opening statement on Little Rock, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, good way to start out the second round of the Arkansas State Championship swing, going to play at the Stevens Center, place that we got a lot of respect for, and Coach Foley and his program, and why we are going there rather than take a year off when Simmons Arena fell through. Blame it on COVID, whatever. Let's not do that. Let's play the game however we best can, and looking forward to it.
Paul Boyd, start us off.
Hey, Coach, can you talked to me at one time about a golf game you and Foley had? Was this right around when talk? I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the relationship you and Foley has.
Well, it goes back. He ran station work for Coach Widener when I was a basketball player at Greenwood, and I'd go to Tech basketball camp for a week. So always had a great deal of respect for him. He helped me become a better player and a better coach along the way. I used to take my high school teams to at Bentonville and at Cabot to his team camps when he was the coach at Tech. And the golf match, you're talking about, we planned on playing down there. We'd had it set up, and then ironically, it was the day before we got ready to play was when the Board of Trustees voted to be able to allow the in-state schools to play. So it was like, okay, well, before we were on the driving range, I said, hey, before we even get to the first tee, let's get this game done. We want to play. I know y'all, if y'all want to play, oh yeah, we want to play. Didn't know if y'all want to play. Let's do it. So we got that done before we ever even got to the first tee. Obviously it took some contract work and some, some people who's higher up the chain of command than us to do all the details of it. But in principle, that happened right there on the driving range. Carried over though. He didn't give me a downhill 4-foot putt for par on 18 that would have won us a skin, I think. So it started right there. So, and then we had a great game down there last year. It was awesome for just everybody in the state, and glad that we got it going, and just look forward to keeping it going.
Russell, go ahead.
You mentioned practice wasn't great last week heading into UCA. What has it been better this week?
Hadn't had one yet. We with finals, we chose to do split team individual work the first 2 days after our day off. But yeah, last week was awful. And I think it had to lead up. There's a lot of excuses that can be made, and some of them are probably even reasons. But they were bad. I expect today's to be really, really good. I just saw a few of the kids coming down the hallway getting their holiday per diem, so they should be in a good mood. Most of their finals are over, and they seem in really good spirits. So we'll see if that carries over. Individual workouts have been going good. Small group workouts have been going good. We did that to kind of let them get their legs back under them, partly because of, COVID protocol, making sure we didn't have extended time in the gym with kids during that period of time. And then also just to let them focus on their academics. And that gives us 2.5 full days to prepare for UALR, which is, more than we normally have to prepare for an opponent. So we'll start in today with high expectations of them being very good, but I'll let you know how they go.
Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, you talked before SMU about how big a deal that was for Taylor. Similar vibes for the Central Arkansas girls this week?
Yes. Yeah, they were down there fighting over pass list tickets the other day. We had to stop. I said, all right, we're going to shot practice. Y'all figure that out first. Figure out who's going to – because it's already going to be limited seating. But, yeah, let's make sure that we take care of those kids that have family coming in. It's also graduation weekend, so a lot of our upperclassmen have family coming in that'll be making the road trip down. So, yeah, similar type deal for kids that attended school closer to the central part of the state than up here, and future players as well.
Trey, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering, obviously each year there are different teams, makeups of teams. What do you see in Little Rock this year as opposed to what you saw last year?
They're harder to get into the paint against. I haven't watched yesterday's UCA game, but we will later. They seem to have grasped faster this year, and it's probably got more experience too. You don't have to watch very long before you realize it's a Joe Foley team out there, offensively and defensively. I think the shot selection, they know what they're looking for. Obviously, their defense is always difficult to play against. I've used the analogy last year, and it's still true. It's like going to the dentist and the proctologist the same day, playing a Joe Foley team. I mean, it's a bad day trying to play against them on offense and defense. So our kids know what the challenge is. The kids that were here last year have already talked to the newcomers about what it means to play against a team that he coaches and how his players embody their style of play, how difficult every pass, every cut, every screen will be defended. And we'll try to simulate that the best we can in practice, but it's hard to do in a 2-day period what they work on for years and years and years. I think they're ahead of. I think we played last year about this same time of the year. It was around so I would say at watching them on film, and I don't know what coach feels, but from the opponent scouting, I would tell him that I think they're way ahead of where they were this time last year.
Mario, I've got one more quick one real quick for Coach, and then I'll be done. Did you give him any putts in the golf match?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I set him up. I know how I putt. I know that the longer the match goes, I'm going to get the yips and my hands will shake. So, I'm telling him to pick up 5 and 6 footers, early in the match, hoping, because I know how I putt, that I'm going to have a chance at one of them. Oh, no, man. It was, and he's really good at it. He was talking to Blair or somebody over there acting like he didn't notice or didn't see. Oh, man, that's good after I missed it, of course. No, you can't take it after you miss it. But it may have been on 17 too. Maybe I think I made a par on 18, but I don't know. Yeah, I try to be very very giving early in the match because I know I'm going to need a few of those later in the match. If it's still a match, a lot of times I'm closed out before we get to 12 or 13, so it's irrelevant.
Brad, go ahead.
Mike, with finals wrapping up, other students going home, your kids maybe going home for Christmas, how do you handicap the challenges of getting through this without any issues so that you're not behind the 8 ball after the first?
Just information, giving them all the information possible about the best way to give us the best chance to play. Our kids have obviously made a lot of sacrifices already to have played more games and more Division I games than anybody in the country. They know the value of that. The reward is you get to keep playing. And I don't think any of them want, us to miss a game because of something we've done. We can't control what all of our opponents do, but we can certainly control, our controllables. And, when you bring in those number of environments that the holidays present, and I want them to have a real good balance of taking care of their mental health. If you need to see your family, go see your family and get hugs and do what you need to do to be mentally prepared. The rest of it will take care of itself and make good decisions. Certainly have learned to trust them, and they've done nothing to lose trust with us. So it's going to be hard, but we've been doing hard things for a long time. So, but it is something that we are talking about, trying to give them the best information so that they can make their best decisions.
Jason, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Eli, you have anything?
I do. Mike, you've known Joe Foley for a good long while, and then you touched on what kind of defenses his teams play year in, year out. What is it about a Joe Foley defense that is so tough to attack, and how do you prepare your team for that on Saturday?
You can't simulate it because not everybody can coach it like he does and demand it and then get it out of his players. It's just really hard to simulate in a 2-day, whether you're doing it with your scout team or your guys' practice team or your managers or your old washed up has-been staff. That we can't create that. We can't get out there and do what they do. So you try to show it to them on film. You do the best you can to recreate it. But it's a challenge, and it's different than a lot of the teams play. It is going to be every dribble contested, every cut is going to be challenged. and it's a 40-minute deal, and you can get frustrated. And I think that's part of the beauty of that defense is, last year we got hit a couple times and we just started standing around. And I think that's what they rely on is, your quit-to-itiveness, if that's really a word. They want you to quit cutting hard and driving it. And you drive it in there and all of a sudden they're jumping in and taking charges. And, I think they work really, really hard at it. They're really, really good at it. And it's just really hard for us to simulate that. And then it's a 40-minute deal. It is 40 minutes. His players know that you don't get to play on the other end if you don't defend. And that makes it a challenge, a unique challenge. For the first time our kids see him, a lot of times that's the first time they've seen it during the year. We see it some in the SEC, but that's not till later on. So it's just it's a unique thing.
Dorian, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I'm actually wondering about defending Joe's motion offense. It's something that Coach Blair talked about a lot in terms of how you have to be disciplined in your defense and how you have to watch for the flare screens. How are you guys trying to simulate defending their motion offense that Coach Foley runs?
That's one place that does help us because we see it every day. We do a lot of similar actions. We don't have as many flares as they do, but it's the same type principles, being aware away from the ball, being really good on the ball. We get a chance to see it in how we play against ourselves. So that it helps us a little bit. It doesn't fully prepare you. You got to work on the things that are specific to them. It helps to have, Todd Schaefer running our defense who, coached against Coach Foley back in some of those days when he was a Division II coach at Christian Brothers and even at Arkansas Tech and the different places he's been. He studied, he knows some of their predictive tendencies. Nobody can predict it, but he's got a better feel for it because he's watched it longer. And I think can have us as prepared as we could hopefully be. But yeah, it's not one of those A to B to C things. There's nothing predictive about it. You have to be best guesses and then trust your principles. So the challenge is that you have to really spend 2 full days preparing offensively and defensively in your prep, which means you don't get to practice your stuff as much. He steals your practice time away from you. So luckily we got him during finals where we have a little bit of extra time to play him. I know they just played UCA last night, so their turnaround time will be a little faster than ours. So hopefully that can be maybe, going on the road, going playing at their place. We're not going to have very many advantages, but hopefully that could be one of them.
All right. Does anyone else have a follow-up for Coach about Little Rock? Okay, we will go ahead and shift gears then to Pine Bluff, who will be here on Monday. Coach, you want to talk a little bit about that game? Yeah,
glad that we got it. When the COVID rescheduling and reshuffling became a thing, when the change in number of games was announced, through the conversations that we had in preparation for next year, we had a contract set to start playing UAPB next year. So it was easy to pick the phone up, call Dawn and say, hey, if y'all have any openings, we'd love to start it this year. And it worked out great for both of us. She's come in and really infused that program with lots of positive energy and excitement. And from watching, their games against common opponents, we certainly know that, that the outcome of, our game, was that Monday? I guess the Monday game, we know there's going to be a team coming in here with a lot of pride in their school, state pride, and a lot of new energy that she's brought them.
Paul, go ahead.
Hey, just talk about the quick turnaround. You're playing Saturday and then turn around and playing, I guess, Monday afternoon now. That's a 1 o'clock tip. So that's a quick turnaround. So, I mean, that's something that you hadn't dealt with outside of the 3 in a row early, right?
Yeah, our kids are going to feel like that's a break, Paul. They're going to be like, hey, we got a day off in between? Whoa, we get to go to the treatment room. And partly that's part of the reason. I think we have been prepared to do that. You have to do it some in the SEC. You certainly have to do it when it comes NCAA tournament time. You have to play 2 games and with a day off in between. So trying to simulate it is a challenge. The early tip time is so that our kids can get home earlier, catch that flight out that day of. And this year with all the COVID restriction, that matters. And I know it's an inconvenience to a few fans. I hope it's they see the positive of it for our student athlete. Being very limited in the amount of time that they're able to see family during the holidays. This allows them to maximize that a little bit. So it's a challenge, but I do think we're ready for it, and we've tried to prepare them for it through that tournament that you mentioned. And, even the first round of that, where we played ORU on a morning and then played early the next day too. So hopefully we can draw some positives from that.
Russ, go ahead.
Any concerns with it being that last game before Christmas? And you even mentioned that, that some of them are leaving that day.
Oh, yeah.
Looking ahead, to maybe the break or anything like that.
There's 3 games you fear every year. It's the one going into finals, the one coming out of finals, and the one before you go home for Christmas. And because of the emotion and the focus, and yeah, they're going to have, did I get all my bags packed? Did I get all the presents right? All that stuff. So yeah, you do worry about it. I hope, and I do trust that with the number of upperclassmen and returners we have, that they'll coach everybody up to get that prepared. So, I can tell you in 21 years of coaching, I can tell you which years we lost the game before Christmas. I remember them very, very vividly. It takes a little bit of taste out of that Christmas dinner if you're going in off a loss. So we'll try to remind them the best we can. But they're kids. We're human. It can happen. But I think talking about it is the key, and not trying to shy away from what it is always the key to it. So yeah, you're right. There will be some consternation over those types of things, as well as an energized team coming in.
Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, what's the prep time like for the Pine Bluff game? Do you start someone now, or do you wait till afterwards? And also the fact they've only played 2 games so far. How much do you know?
Yeah, we don't know much. I'll tell you one thing I did. Dawn did a Zoom clinic on their zone defense, so I sat in on it. She was like, I see Coach Neighbors up there watching, so I'm not going to give you all the details. But, yeah, no, you prepare. And if you find 5 or 10 minutes in a practice, like, a couple of weeks ago when we just had a few practices in a row without really an opponent on the horizon, you slip a couple of, UAPB things in there without really telling your team you're doing it. And then you draw from common opponents and common experiences. But we will, we'll play, we'll travel back. We'll have an early practice on Sunday, just because to try to simulate that early start on the Monday as well. And then let them get off their feet. I always think in games like that, it's important that you eliminate losing first. So let's make sure we're rested. Let's make sure we're focused. Let's make sure we're not going to be tired. We're not going to be unfocused. And that eliminates a couple of factors that could lead to a loss immediately in your preparation the day before you actually play the game.
Brett, go ahead.
Yeah, I was kind of going down that line too, Mike. With the state championship and the common opponents, do you find yourself almost looking at UAPB while you're scouting UCA and going through that?
Yeah, you will a little bit. Yeah, that'll be a thing. And, I've tried to let our kids I've used Eddie Murphy's great line from Beverly Hills Cop, "Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe trick," a couple of times this year. And we're not going to allow that to happen again with, comparing the score last night from the UCA UALR game and then the UACA UAPB game to the Arkansas State game, even though we're not playing them. It's human nature. Kids do it. They talk about it, but it's our job to make sure they understand that, there's a lot of factors that go into comparing scores. And the second you do that, you can find yourselves falling for some tricks that are not factual. So I think our group has learned that lesson. We'll find out though, but it is something that I don't care how much you talk about it, it still happens.
All right. Does anyone else have a follow-up on the UAPB game? Okay, cool. Dorian, if you want to hang out.